Hello everyone. So now next, before we start with the next topic, first of all we'll do the let's recall which is given on page number B43 for the chapter 12, that is the earth, sun and the moon. Now what is it? You have to write capital T for true and capital F for false statement. First is the earth is the fourth planet in the solar system. This is false. Second is the outermost layer of the earth is crust. Yes, outermost layer is crust. So this one is true. Third is the core is the coldest part of the sun. It is false, as core is the whole hottest part of the sun and the temperature in the core of the sun it is 15 billion degrees Celsius and on the surface it is 6000 degrees Celsius. So core is hottest as compared to the corona. So the core, third, this is false. Fourth is the core is the the sun is the star nearest to the earth. Yes, it is. So this is true. And fifth is the inner core of the earth is made up of iron. Yes, it is made up of iron. So this one is true. After this, next topic is moon. Now, first of all, in my previous lecture, I have already explained that what are satellites. What are satellites? Satellites are the objects which revolve around the planets. See, planets, they revolve around the sun, and the moon or the natural satellites, these are the objects which revolve around the planets. Okay. So what are satellites? Satellites are the objects which revolve around the planets. There are two types of satellites. First one is natural satellite, the satellites which revolve around the planet and which are not created by human being, which naturally exist. We call them moon also. That is natural satellite. Second one is artificial satellite. What is artificial satellite? Artificial satellite is the one which is created by human being to capture, to gather the information which are sent into the space, to gather the information about the planets. We call them artificial satellites. So here in this chapter, now I will teach you about the moon. Different planets, they have different number of moons. So in this chapter, we'll study about the moon of the earth. Earth has one moon. And so what is moon? That is the natural satellite of the earth, and it is made up of rock particles, and the surface on the moon, it is made up of craters, mountains and valleys. Now what are craters? Craters are, these are big holes, very large holes which are created on the surface of the moon. How when any meteorites, you know what are meteorites? Meteorites are very big pieces that is also made up of rock particles, hard substances, and their size is less than the planets, but they are present in the space. They travel in the space. While traveling, they can hit sometimes on the moon, any satellite or the planet. So when these meteorites, they hit the surface of the moon, they create very large holes on the surface of the moon. Those large holes which are being created when any meteorite it clash on the surface of the moon, that is known as crater. Okay. And so the surface of the moon, it is covered with craters, mountains and valleys. There is no air or no wind on the moon. Sound, it needs a medium to travel. So when there is no air or no wind on the moon, so it means you cannot hear anything on the moon. Why? Because there is no, it doesn't have any medium through which it will travel. So on the surface of the moon, there is no wind or no air. So you cannot hear any sound also on the surface of the moon. Moon, it is 3,84,400 kilometer away from the earth, and the diameter of the moon is 3,500 kilometer. The size of the moon is, it is 3,500 kilometer in diameter, and the distance between the earth and the moon, or if I'll ask you that how much that how much far is moon from the earth, then it is 3,84,400 kilometer away from the earth. The moon's gravity, you know what is gravity or the gravitational force? Gravity or the gravitational force is the type of force, kind of attractive force, which always attract all the things towards it, towards the center of the earth. Earth has its own gravitational force. That's why whenever we throw anything, ultimately that object, it fall down on the surface of the earth. So how it happens? What is the reason why it just it doesn't float in the air? It is due to the gravitational force or the gravity of the earth. Earth has its own gravitational force. Due to that, all the things, they ultimately fall back on the surface of the earth. So what is gravity or gravitational force of the earth? It is type of attractive force which attracts all the things towards the center of the earth. That's why all the things, they fall down. Now moon also has gravitational force, but the gravitational force which is there on the moon, that is 1/6 of the earth's gravity or earth's gravitational force. It means if your the things which you feel like they are very heavy on the earth, you can easily lift them up on the moon as their weight will be less. If weight will be same, but due to gravitational force, you will feel like it is less. If if any object's weight is 60 kilogram on the earth, but on the moon it will be 10 kg. Why it is? Because as the moon's gravity, it is 1/6 of the gravity of the earth. So you don't need that much effort to lift that object on the surface of the moon as you need to lift it up on the earth. There is no atmosphere on the moon, there is no wind, no air, and there is no light also of moon of its own. So what is the reason why it shines? It shines because it reflects the light which fall on the surface of the moon from the sun. So moon, it doesn't have its own light, it reflects back the light which is falling on its surface from the coming from the sun. We can see different parts. Sometimes we see full moon, sometimes we see half, sometimes we don't even see. So all these different shapes of the moon are on the basis of that how much light, how much part of the moon is getting the light of the sun, getting the sunlight. On the basis of that only the portion which get the sunlight, only that portion is visible to us. So that's why the moon has different shapes. Now in the next lecture I will teach you different phases of the moon also. So landing on the moon, first of all, Apollo 11, it was the first spacecraft which landed on the moon in 1969. On 21st July 1969, it was the first spacecraft which landed on the moon, and it carried 3 American astronauts. First was Neil Armstrong, second Edwin Aldrin, and Michael Collins. Neil Armstrong, he was the first person who stepped on the moon. So the first person who stepped on the moon was Neil Armstrong, followed by Edwin Aldrin. Neil Armstrong and Edwin Aldrin, both of them, they remained there for 2.5 hours on the moon. They collected the samples so that they can study when they will come back on. They came back on the earth. Michael Collins, he also went there, but he was remained there in the spacecraft. So these are the 3 persons. And when we are talking about India, India also launched its unmanned mission. Unmanned means it doesn't have any, there was no person in it. So they have also launched in 2008. They launched it on October 22nd, 2008, and the name of the mission was Chandrayaan 1. It was launched by Satish Dhawan Space Center, Sriharikota, from ISRO, that is Indian Research Space Organization. Sorry, ISRO, that is Indian Space Research Organization. And the mission of this Chandrayaan 1 was to collect the information as much as it can for the other basics, other details about the moon. And it came back, it was called back on in 2009. It was called back on 30th August and 2009. when we are talking about the different phases of the moon, phases of the moon means there are different shapes of the moon. So all these different shapes of the moon, how are these created? These are on the basis of, we see different shapes of the moon. How do we see them? On the basis of how much light falls. Sometimes we see full moon, sometimes we see half. So what is the reason behind it? It is due to that only the portion of the moon which gets the sunlight, which reflects the sunlight, only that portion of the moon is visible to us. So first of all, sometimes we see new moon. Now what is this new moon? New moon is when whole part is shaded, we don't see anything, right? So that is the new moon. After this, second one is crescent moon. What is crescent moon? Crescent moon is, it is a second shape when more than only this portion is visible. Only this portion is visible to us and rest part is not. This portion is not visible to us. That is the crescent moon. Okay. After this, next one is half moon. What is half moon from its name only? When half of the moon is not visible to us and half is visible. This portion is not visible, this one is shaded, and only the half of the moon is visible to us. That is half moon. And after this, next one is gibbous moon. What is gibbous moon? Gibbous moon is when more than half is visible. This one is visible to us and this portion of the moon is not visible. That shape of the moon is known as gibbous moon. And last one is known as full moon. Now what is full moon? Full moon when complete moon is visible to us, right? So these all are the different phases of the moon. What are the phases of the moon? The different shapes of the moon which are visible to us, we call them phases of the moon. Sometimes we don't see anything, we call it new moon. Crescent moon is when only this portion of the moon is visible to us and this much portion is not visible, right? Only this portion is visible, kind of see. That is crescent moon. Half moon when half moon is visible and half is not visible as it is not getting the sunlight. Gibbous moon, more than half is visible, and full moon when complete moon is visible to us, then we call it, these are the different shapes, different phases of the moon. After this, in next lecture I will teach you eclipse. Have a nice day.